What scene in a film really messed with your head? The ending montage in Requiem for a Dream. Pretty relentless after the rest of the movie. Curb stomp in American History X, also the very similar elevator scene in Drive. Something about the sound of skulls being crushed, man. The hillbilly rape scene in Deliverance. I rented it randomly when I was like 13 not knowing anything about it. The degloving scene in Gerald's Game. The saw scene where the black dude had his arms twisted round. I got about 2 minutes in and broke down right there on the train. It was one of the worst experiences my life. Predestination. The man fuck himself literally. The suicide in Hard Candy. Stuck with me for so long. Climax, the scene where this girl kicked another girl's pregnant stomach. Basically the whole movie messed me up for days. Taken me a while to get around what the Truman Show was all about. Child rape. As soon as I realized the shit that was going, I didn't finish the scene, not even the movie. This is too much for me. Shotgun scene Martyrs. Not particularly bad, but when I saw the bondage drill rape scene in American Horror Story Hotel I was quite taken aback. Also to an extent the season 3 finale of Overlord. Watching it was really cool despite the obvious animation problem, but greater than, when I tried thinking about it afterward, imagining myself being on battlefield where a single person kills 70,000 people in a matter of seconds and then summons Hellspawn to eat another 170,000 people alive. Just trying to imagine being a soldier witnessing something like that happen and then watching as the scene progresses and seeing the futility in their eyes. Less than. Years back in school we watched one scene out of a movie, but I couldn't remember the name of that movie. In that scene two men sit in a diner and one tells about his nightmare about being right there, talking about a nightmare. He tells that there is a creepy creature behind the building in his dream. So, the other one says, they should look if it is truly there. And they did. The creature appears and the man dies of the shock and nightmare. This scene haunted me for years. I can't even explain why it was so creepy to me. And then I decided to watch the movie Mulholland Drive and two men started to talk about a nightmare in a diner. Old Boy original, there were several scenes greater than, especially when the actor cut his own tongue, that was hard to watch. Less than. Pretty much every sex scene on a Serbian movie. Requiem for a Dream's ass to ass part. IDKY, I mean, but whenever I hear that quote I get chills. Mars Attacks. The whole movie creeped me out as a kid. Those Martians with their giant heads and the way they talk shudder. The lust in movie Say 7N. That shit is stuck in my vision. Holy fuck, it was disturbing. Lisa Aaron suckling Robin in Got. Shart scene Human Centipede 2. Willy Wonka boat scene, the fires of hell must be burning. I watched this right after my mother made me watch The Passion of Christ. Scared me for life on the topic of religion. I was like 10. The boat scene in Mississippi Burning, with the two men with their hands tied to the boat as it sank. The bit in Saving Private Ryan where Mellish is fighting for his life with the German Soldier and Upham could have gone in and saved him but is frozen by fear and doesn't. It fucks you up because in the story we are Upham, or at least we see this story through his eyes of ignorance compared to the other characters. In reality we like to think that we would have charged in there and saved Mellish, but really it's more than likely we would have been Upham frozen on the stairs. There are things in Hereditary that I missed because the screen was super dark. So when you watch the movie the second time around, at home, you'll notice that Toni Collette's character was actually going nuts even before she went nuts towards the end of the movie. She was up on the ceiling a lot spying on her son. It's so creepy. The rape scene in Hills Have Eyes. I guess it's a cliché, but the ending of Inception, that damn top at the ending. Ending in Annihilation, I read the book afterwards to understand it. Book is mostly different, so I got another brainfuck like that and still didn't figure out shit. I never finished the whole movie, but the scene in Blue Velvet where Dennis Hopper is simultaneously beating and sucking the breasts of some woman whilst getting high on something by inhaling it through an oxygen mask. He kept yelling, "Mommy, mommy," during the whole thing, and it's one of the most disturbing, Freudian things I've ever seen. When Cersei walked through King's Landing striped of clothes. That scene fucking messed with me so much. Got used to be so good. Old Boy's first hour and a half, its run time. The last scene of The Usual Suspects. Irreversible. 2 scenes. The unflinching 10-minute anal rape scene, and the brutal murder with the fire extinguisher. Old boy, the twist. I'm talking about the American version, and the backstory of the bad guy made me threw up. The end of Arlington Road. It's extremely unsettling. Pulp Fiction, when Mia Wallace overdoes and they bring her back to life. I will never understand. Inception, Mulholland Drive. And how the guys at the barbecue worked out that Felicia is actually Adam and Priscilla, Queen of the Desert. The end of Primal Fear. Usually I am pretty good at figuring it all out, but was completely surprised on this one. The Hills Have Eyes, when the mutant rapes the woman then executes her mom when he's found out. Shit fucked me up as a kid. Hanging scene in 12 Years a Slave. Sat with me for weeks. Not sure I can watch it again. The child catcher in Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. Kids' movies used to be a lot scarier. The scene from Willy Wonka where Augustus Gloop gets stuck in the pipe. Labyrinth, the old woman burdened by all her belongings, which limit her movements in every way. Teen me got the first jolt out of heedless 80s consumerism that day. Can't remember the movie, but there was one where this dude was getting revenge or something from another dude, so he cuts the guy's thigh, revealing the hamstrings I think, and pours brake fluid on it. That scene still makes me cringe. It was very hard to watch. In The Shining, a smartly dressed man receives a blowjob from a costumed bear. I guess we'd call them furries now. Kubrick was ahead of his time, who knew? Rumble in the Bronx with Jackie Chan. The scene with the wood chipper, like holy shit, I still can't watch that scene without feeling fear. I am quite weary of wood chippers because of it. The electric chair scene in The Green Mile. Gone Girl, box cutter scene. Wound up holding onto my mom's arm while watching it, and everyone in the theater was audibly squirming. I now have a lifelong fear of my throat being slit. When the security guard got cut in half by a train in that one Gus Van Sant movie. There's this Hindi movie called Dushman starring actors called Kajol, Ashutosh Rana, and Sanjay Dutt. There's this rape scene in that movie that I cannot see to this day. Jimmy Neutron. There was an episode where a dim-witted bully, Butch, pushes Jimmy and he falls down the stairs. As a result, Jimmy sustains head injuries and becomes retarded. At first Butch is happy because he no longer feels inferior to Jimmy. But then he slowly starts feeling guilty as he sees the once bright Jimmy struggling with even the simplest of tasks. Butch ends up being one of his best friends when he defends his from bullies who are tormenting him because of his stupidity. At one point Jimmy tells Butch how he can remember being smart and boy he wishes to think good again. Butch starts crying and can't stand to look at his friend in this state. In his anguish he suffocates Jimmy with a pillow. The show then fast forward a couple of years where Butch is standing on a cliff. He has come to realize that the gap between him and the simple-minded version of Jimmy was the same as the gap between him and the smart version of Jimmy. He despairs at how little he can do in life and how he deprived the world of a genius like Jimmy. The last moments of the episode imply that he throws himself off the cliff. Greater than, when Iron Man dies, sad face, less than.